Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lumpin Vishum. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 8th of April. India to wrap its evacuation mission in Yemen on Thursday, says government. Prime Minister Modi announces dedicated bank to promote small industries in India. And literacy rate among Afghan girls on the rise. And now for all the details. India on Wednesday extended its evacuation mission by another day after reports emerged that 140 nationals were still stuck in Yemen. It has so far rescued over 4,000 of its citizens. More than 235 people from 26 foreign countries were also evacuated from the conflict zone by the Indian authorities.
It was a great escape for these Indians who could successfully put a foot back on their homeland after being caught in the war-stricken zone for a fortnight. As another batch of 700 nationals landed in India from Yemen in the wee hours of Wednesday, India announced of ending its evacuation efforts. While 600 were rescued by air, over 100 returned by sea route from Al Hudaydah port. Indian government has been undertaking Operation Rahat at war footing for 10 days following Saudi-led airstrikes on pro-Iranian Houthi rebels in Yemen. Those who arrived back recounted the situation in Yemen.
बहुत ज़्यादा हम लोग डर के और एकदम खौफ में रह रहे थे वहाँ पर। न सोना खाना सब कुछ हराम हो गया था। ऐसा लग रहा था कब हम लोग इंडिया वापस आते। बस डर डर के जी रहे थे। बच्चों की स्कूल की मुश्किल, मतलब हस्बैंड ऑफिस जा रहे थे तो वो आते नहीं आते, वो आने तक बहुत डर और खौफ था कि पता नहीं क्या होता क्या नहीं होता। यहाँ पे आप सुरक्षित पहुँच गए तो भारतीय सरकार कितना यहाँ पे मदद आपको? हाँ, बहुत मदद करी है उन्होंने। वहाँ से शुरू से लेके अब तक हम बहुत हेल्प की है।
India had stepped up evacuation via air and sea as the situation deteriorated by the day. Junior Foreign Minister V.K. Singh has been monitoring the operation from Djibouti since last week. India has also helped a number of countries including USA, France, Germany, Sweden, Singapore, Malaysia, Ireland, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Iraq in evacuating their citizens. 11 Indians who were rescued by the Pakistan Navy from Yemen's southeastern Mukalla reached Karachi on Tuesday. The group is set to return to India on Wednesday.
शिप में आ गया तो उतना भी बहुत अच्छा आएगा। वो तो ना बोलेगा तो वो मेहमानी नहीं हो।
Pakistan had also evacuated 182 nationals on Tuesday in a warship, taking the total number of those rescued to 1,800 out of the estimated 3,000 living in Yemen. Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif had on Tuesday said his country was in no hurry to decide on joining the Saudi-led coalition against rebels in Yemen. He further said Pakistan is currently waiting for the outcome of diplomatic efforts launched in coordination with Turkey and Iran to resolve the crisis.
The Bangladesh Supreme Court on Wednesday signed the death penalty of war crimes convict Mohammad Kamaruzzaman, initiating the process of his execution. According to rules, a signed copy of the verdict has to be sent to the jail authorities, who will ask Kamaruzzaman whether he will seek presidential mercy. If he doesn't seek pardon, the jail officials can fix a time for Kamaruzzaman's hanging. The Bangladesh Supreme Court had on Monday rejected a review petition of the Jamaat-e-Islami leader challenging his capital punishment. 62-year-old Kamaruzzaman, who led the Al-Badr militia in 1971, was sentenced to death by the International War Crimes Tribunal in 2013 for crimes against humanity. The U.S. State Department has cleared Pakistan's request of selling weapons to Islamabad. The $952 million deal includes USmade attack helicopters, missiles and other equipments aimed at modernizing Pakistani armory.
Pakistan's anti-militancy operation in its tribal areas is set to get a boost after the U.S. State Department agreed to its request of purchasing American-made military hardware. Pakistan had sought 15 AH-1Z Viper helicopters alongside 1,000 Hellfire missiles and a host of other communications and training equipments for strengthening its weapon base. This also comes at a time when U.S. arms manufacturers are competing against their counterparts in Russia and China to back defense deals from Pakistan. Islamabad had last week cleared another agreement with Beijing to buy 8 Chinese-made submarines. Pakistan, which had a defense budget of $678 billion in its fiscal year of 2014 to 2015, allocated 23.1% of its total GDP for its forces. Pakistan's defense budget has seen a steady increase, competing against neighbouring India, which is the world's largest weapons importer.
Indian government on Wednesday launched a bank to provide financial help to potential small entrepreneurs. The new initiative is expected to increase employment opportunities in the country.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday launched the Micro Units Development and Refinance Agency or Mudra Bank in capital New Delhi under his government's Banking for All policy. The latest initiative, which has a corpus fund of $3.2 billion, is aimed at refinancing microfinance institutions in the country. India's Finance Minister Arun Jaitley said that the Mudra Bank is a step in funding the otherwise unfunded.
5 करोड़ 77 लाख 5.77 करोड़ छोटे लघु और माइक्रो उद्यमी इस देश के अंदर हैं। उनके पास साधन आए विस्तार करने के लिए अपने व्यवसाय को, इसकी कोई औपचारिक व्यवस्था नहीं है और 20,000 करोड़ की पूंजी के माध्यम से और उसके अन्य सुविधाओं के माध्यम से ये सुविधा उन लोगों को दी जाए ताकि उनको भी बड़ा बनने का एक अवसर मिल पाए।
Prime Minister Modi distributed the loans to a number of beneficiaries at the event. He said it was important to look at the small enterprises, which account for more jobs than big industries.
ये जितने बड़े बड़े उद्योगों की हम चर्चा सुनते आए हैं, उसमें सिर्फ 1 करोड़ 25 लाख लोगों को रोजगार मिलता है। 125 करोड़ देश में 1.25 करोड़ लोगों को रोजगार, ये जो बहुत बड़े बड़े लोगों जिनके लिए दुनिया में चर्चा रहती है, आधा अखबार जिनसे भरा पड़ा रहता है, वो देते हैं। लेकिन इस देश में छोटा छोटा काम करने वाला व्यक्ति करीब 5 करोड़ 70 लाख लोग 12 करोड़ लोगों को रोजगार देते हैं।
The new bank is also expected to give a push to Prime Minister Modi's ambitious Make in India campaign, which aims at transforming the country into a global manufacturing hub.
Bangladesh has approved a revised trade agreement with India that is likely to give a boost to regional trade. According to the deal, both the countries can use each other's land and water routes to send goods to other nations.
A cabinet meeting chaired by Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on Tuesday approved the revised deal, which will allow both the countries to explore each other's routes for transporting goods to a third country. The agreement aims at removing a long-standing barrier to smoothening regional trade. It comes after the expiry of the original deal on March 31st, under which trade could only be done between the two countries, with India transporting goods to its northeastern states. This is a huge achievement for Bangladesh. Under the agreement, we will now be able to use Indian roads, railways and waterways in transshipment of goods to Bhutan and Nepal. Cabinet Secretary Musharraf Hussain Bhuiyan said in a statement on Tuesday. The revised agreement will now allow trucks from neighbouring countries to enter Bangladesh through Indian corridors. On the other hand, India can use Bangladeshi routes for exporting goods to Myanmar. Both the countries will pay same money for the transport. The latest deal is being dubbed as a milestone in the relationship between the two neighbours, which will immensely benefit the region. The pact is likely to be signed either during Prime Minister Hasina's visit to New Delhi or Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's trip to Dhaka in near future.
At least 7 people have been killed and scores of others injured after northern Afghanistan was hit by flash floods. Disaster struck the Baghlan province after heavy rains inundated the region on Monday, mainly its capital city, Puli-Khumri. Those killed included 4 women and 2 children. The floods have also destroyed hundreds of homes and left dozens of others missing. Emergency teams have stepped up rescue and relief work in the region. The floods mark the start of Afghanistan's annual disaster season as snow on its northern mountain ranges melts. At least 80 people were killed due to flooding in Gozargahi Nur district of the vulnerable province of Baghlan last year. Pakistan is hopeful in gaining ground in its anti-polio campaign this year. Its government has already tightened gloves to eradicate the crippling disease from the country. A report.
Pakistan tops the list of countries most affected by the polio virus, posing a massive threat to its future generation. The country is the only major exporter of the crippling disease globally, a recent WHO report had pointed out. But things might change soon, as the government is leaving no stone unturned to fight the endemic, even as it hopes to achieve a milestone this year. Pakistan Health Minister Saira Afzal Tarar said the Pakistani authorities are making all efforts to make the country polio-free. On the sidelines of a meet with her counterparts from the SAARC nations, Tarar lauded her government's initiatives.
We have raised the security of our health workers, and inshallah you will see that at the end of the 2000 there will be a great change and a success in polio eradication program in Pakistan.
Anti-polio drives repeatedly fail in Pakistan owing to attacks on medical workers, remoteness of areas and a campaign against it by orthodox religious clerics. As many as 64 people have been killed in attacks on polio teams since 2012, when the Taliban banned vaccinations in areas they controlled, calling it a Western plot to sterilize Muslims. Pakistan, through its National Emergency Operations Centre, is using permanent transit points, installation of health camps in high-risk areas and inclusion of female community volunteers in the program to track those children who miss out or remain unapproachable in each campaign. Authorities are even issuing arrest warrants against parents refusing polio vaccination for their children in the northwestern Khyber region.
Times are changing in Afghanistan as more girls are getting enrolled in schools. Girls' education has shown signs of improving in the war-torn nation post the Taliban era.
It had been years that the sound of school bell was distant cry for these girls. They had always remained secluded from the premises of schools and played second fiddle to their male counterpart. However, things have started changing for girls in Afghanistan. Ever since the fall of Taliban rule in 2001, the tide has started taking a different turn. Now more girls can be seen going to schools at par with the boys. It took 14 years for the international community to rebuild the education sector by building schools, training teachers and supporting girls who were previously denied their rights during Taliban rule. In a patriarchal setup that Afghan society is, the most significant encouragement for these girls came from their fathers.
Security is now better than before, so we are trying to admit especially the girls, because 55% of our population is girls. So we need to educate them. Education is more important for girls, especially for girls. If we wanted to bring up the capacity of this country, so we need to bring up the girls before.
The progress has, however, not been an easy one. Many schools are still inaccessible due to the continued Taliban presence in the south and east of the country, and some are simply tents or classes held on patches of land. Literacy of the Afghan population is estimated at 28.1%. While 43.1% males in the country were literate, the figures for females still stand at a meager 12.6%.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude the top stories once again. India to wrap its evacuation mission in Yemen on Thursday, says government. Prime Minister Modi announces dedicated bank to promote small industries in India. And literacy rate among Afghan girls on the rise. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.